It's your boy, Eddie S. Pierce Jr. Man, it's a mouthful trying to remember all that. I'm going to keep it real short at some point. Just Eddie P for right now. At any rate, wanted to do another one of these videos. It's been a while, and there's been a lot going on. Obviously, you see all of that from Facebook posts and things. But to keep things short, first and foremost, I want to thank everyone who saw the post where I said something about accepting thoughts and prayers. Thank you for your energy. Basically, I was at the very, very end stages of getting this book done and getting this book out and published and everything. And it was just one of those mornings where, like I said in another post, you get up, you're feeling good, life is on track and whatnot, and you make your little positive post or what have you of the day. I posted a scripture, and I've seen this happen so many times in my life that when you earnestly, genuinely, sincerely decide, hey, I'm just going to put something positive out there, that, it's just, even from a scientific perspective, it's like a law of nature that when you exert force in one way, something is naturally pushing back. But who's going to push more? Who's going to push further? Who's going to push farther? That decision still is up to you. And so I guess I say that to say that, when negativity pushes back, that doesn't mean, even if you anticipated, that you are somehow exempt from your responsibility to put positivity out there. So that's that. But thank you again for your thoughts and your prayers, because, like most things, I had to admit, in this very Scorpio trait, we'll talk about that being a Christian, how I, talk about, astrology and stuff, but that's a whole nother conversation. But one thing that I know that, I don't look at prescriptive, or not prescriptive, but I guess predictive science, but I do look at predictive behavior that is kind of outlined when you look at the zodiac. And so I've seen that a lot of the traits that are in there, those are things that are potential traits. That's another important thing to know, that what I understand all of this mean that I can look at that Scorpio sign, I can look at that list of attributes, and I can say, oh, these are things I need to watch out for. And when I'm on my game, when I'm on my P's and my Q's, it really works in my favor. But one good example is that I knew this without even seeing all this stuff later on confirmed, that I don't do well with a lot of questions from, multiple people, especially, but even like if one person was just to sit there and barrage me with questions, it's like tricky, and it's kind of funny saying that, knowing I have an interview later on today, but interviews are different because it's very conversational. But not being mindful of that one day, and, there I am trying to do my best and be helpful and everything. Hey, Tristan, love you, miss you. I hope to see you in August. I'm sorry that my nose is just itching. Knowing the situation, trying to be helpful, and got barraged with questions, and I did not handle it well. So, that's like my whole little spiel on that. But at any rate, another thing about, people that, or at least I know about myself, let's segue to that, is that I make mountains out of molehills. And so I was looking at the final stages of some things with the book that morning, and I just hit this one snag, and before I knew it, I'm having a temper tantrum. That's the best way to explain it. That's how I see it from God's eyes. Stamping my feet. I mean, I'm almost 40. Stamping my feet, loud. I mean, if you can catch that explicative in there. And somewhere in there, God in my spirit was just like, you need to go sit down. You need to go focus on something else. It's really not that big. I made one email, and that situation, within 12 hours, not even, maybe 7-8 hours, like, I saw myself, and there's something to be said about that Scorpio trait, go from 0 to 60, being a person that, is constantly trying to not live at the extremes. I do. And I will go from, and there's something about the whole astrology thing, once again, it talks about the idea that there are two planets that are mostly associated with this whole Scorpio thing, and one of them being Mars, and I'm into Greek mythology and everything. very passionate, very fiery attributes. And then the other being Pluto, which is, cold, and he's still a planet. I don't care what y'all say. But anyway, that Greek god being associated with things that die, very non-responsive, but also regeneration. But whole other thing. So I went from being the highest level of pistovity that there is to check, come back, it's time to chill. And, part of it was, and this is a shout out to my girl Joyce, part of it was because I still knew I had a party to go to that night. And, even the day before that, shout out to Isaac. We're going to talk about him in a minute. But for inspiring, me to be a little adventurous with some things as far as my wardrobe is concerned. And so, but, I was already excited. Like, okay, we're going to go out here. We're about to pimp this thing out real quick. And I drew some inspiration from places. One is a boyfriend in my head. I ain't going to name him. But then I also saw the Best Man Christmas movie or whatever. And it was like, yes, that's it. Because the theme of the party was red and black. And I had decided, okay, well, I don't really have nothing really, really red, like a jacket. So I'm just do the all black thing and throw in some red accents. So one thing leads to another, and there are flowers involved. And, thank you for everybody that even saw the little pictures and thanked them or liked them or whatever. But Joyce, amazing individual. You're going to hear some great things about her coming very soon. By now, she's opened her birthday card, so I don't think I'm ruining the surprise. But if not, then surprise, girl. We are going to be working on a commercial shot for her business. I'm not going to go into details about the business right now because I don't want to say anything wrong. I do know what she does, but I just, I'm just mindful of that sort of thing. And so you'll hear more about her. But this party was amazing. It was very grown and sexy. It was just, real chill. Nobody on nothing crazy. Nobody on nothing shady. It was just fun. It was just a turn up. The DJ was I have his card somewhere in my pocket. I don't remember the brother's name, but shouts out to him because he kept the party moving. And it was like being in the Wayback Machine, man, because it was like everything from like the 80s, the 90s. I mean, me and her went to high school together. So, we hearing stuff from, back when we was little Whitney Young Dolphins. We still Whitney Young Dolphins. We just not little no more. But it was an amazing time, and you saw all of the videos and stuff, and, you see that I then got into, a lot more of the Facebook Live, and I'm not gonna lie, for a long time I would say some little judgmental stuff about, like, it being narcissistic, but my thing really is that, even with the pictures and stuff, and that was something I wanted to talk about a little bit, because a friend of mine once even mentioned it. She's like, man, you change your profile picture every day. This was like a couple of years back, and I guess I've fallen back into that, but, it comes honestly from, I made a post not too long ago, so it's a whole lot of transparency in this, huh? I'm just trying to keep this at 10 minutes, and I don't think I'm going to make it. But basically, I made a post about, having a history of dealing with depression. And I found some different strategies, with how to combat that. And one of those things, honestly, is art. In different forms. It's definitely me playing with, the little pictures and animation and stuff like that. That's really art therapy for me, guys. Honestly, it is. And I appreciate the likes, but just like when I put these cute little pictures out about these books, I don't do it just for the likes. Buy these books. We'll come back to that. But even the whole idea of playing dress up, as I call it sometimes, and just, honestly seeing the potential that God even gives me to be like, if my purpose is to illustrate God's love to the world, I'm not just talking about through my actions on behalf of someone else. I'm also talking about how he benefits me, how he's my benefactor. And I talk about the idea that, not making any boasts of myself, making my boast in the Lord. He gave me this gift wrap, but then he also gives me the ability to enhance it or to dress it a certain way and whatnot. And so, play with that and see some cute results and take some cute pictures and everything. It does a lot for the self-esteem. So, it's like a little shot of narcissism to I look at these pictures and I can't even recognize the insecure, self-loathing person who just sincerely did not know how to love himself. That's the best way I can explain it. It's not that I grew up with people calling me ugly or anything like that. It was, in fact, the complete opposite. And I couldn't internalize those things. I had to actually apologize to some folks in person at some point about how, they would say, oh, you do this, that, or the other so well. And I'd be like, girl, shut up. And it was out of I think on some level too, it was the whole hiding being gay thing, or just not even the older I get, I know that it's not even just about that anymore. It's making my boast in the Lord. It's a gift that he put in me that has nothing to do with sexuality. It has nothing to do with, it is him imparted in me. It is his spirit imparted in me. As I tell some friends of mine at church, when I go to the lighthouse, and they might compliment me on my, outfit or what have you, I tell them, look, and, I laugh when I say it, but I am so sincere. This is God's reflected glory. That is what you see. For those folks that kind of have their little crushes and whatnot, or their professional admiration, you see this, but you don't understand that somewhere on the inside of you, your spirit is resonating and recognizing this spirit of God that he imparted in me. For a long time, I was covering that up. I was covering that up in big clothes. I was covering that up behind, hats and jackets and, a quiet demeanor and, just all of that. And one thing I'm learning about getting older, becoming, as I love this phrase, a man of a certain age. It doesn't say old. It's just that that, hey, there's something significant there. But that the older I get, that growing up is more about what you take off and what you shed off, more so than it is what you acquire. There is a lot that, if you look at us as a sponge when we're born in the world, and we just soaking up everything that we encounter. And, hopefully that's more good than bad, but hey, it is what it is. And somewhere in there, you have to shed identities that people have given you. You have to shed, shame. There's just so much that you have to take off. And so, I guess what is happening internally to me is manifesting physically, outwardly, in the mode of dress, in the playing around with the little pictures and the art and things on Facebook, just being more visible, because it's not about me wanting to be visible for myself, although a lot of times it does fall into the whole marketing thing with the books. But if my purpose, as I put it on this Facebook wall, and I put it there not so that you all would see it, I go to my own profile quite a bit, and I have to see what's there. And so it's like looking in a mirror. It reminds me on the days when I'm doing all of this that, there's some potential, you can clean this up. But I have to see that bio, and that bio has changed, and there's always been something significant. Shout out to Steve Furtick on this sermon I just listened to as part of my whole little Monday ministry series. You'll find it here in the Rainbow Room Lounge, of just great services and sermons that I heard just in the last 24 hours. All on from tangents. The significance of knowing that I have to look at that line, and looking at that line, I see where I've said and echoed finally what God told me. For the longest, thinking that my purpose was to write. And shouts out to Anthony Roberts with Higher Living Christian Center in Dallas, Texas, for helping me understand the difference between my gift and my purpose. My gift might be the vehicle that carries the purpose, but the purpose, as I understand it, is the fuel for the gift. And so the writing is one way that I can illustrate God's love, but I come to understand that my purpose is to illustrate God's love with my life. And that's more general, it's more encompassing than limiting God by my writing. And we don't put limits on God. At least that's not the God I know about. But at any rate, that went a lot further than I wanted to go. So just, like I said, bear with me, pray for me, continue to pray for me, continue to like the stuff. And of course, like I said, buy those books. I have a whole little laundry list here. And like I said, I thought we was going to do this in 10 minutes. It's not happening. I actually put up some everything. So book updates. Basically, book is actually almost done. That was another thing with this whole weekend. Somewhere in there, God was just like, oh, you're tripping and you're stressing, and that's a sign. That's something that I've come to understand, that when you're getting all frustrated like that, you got to stop and check and like evaluate. You know, run an internal diagnostic. Something sci-fi fans. When I'm all frustrated and everything, sometimes I look up and it's simply like, dude, you have not slept today. You have had 3 hours of sleep and you're driving all across the city. Of course you're frustrated. Go home and go to sleep. Sometimes it's just that simple. But in this case, it was God just kind of reminding me, you know, that once again, I've gotten too focused on these hands. I do understand that I have a part to play in the purpose being carried out. I understand, and I thank God for this new level of understanding that, you know, there's a lot of recognition and a lot of acknowledgement and everything that needs to be given to the God of the universe, the God who sits on the throne, the God who is in heaven, the God that is all around us and omnipotent and omnipresent and everything. But don't forget the divine within. From my perspective, from me being, you know, a person who subscribes to the faith of Jesus, that is the truth that I know, not saying that yours isn't true. I can just only speak to what mine is. One component of that is that God imparts himself into me, the Holy Spirit. And that is the part that gives mobility to these hands and witness and wisdom and even calm to this crazy mind. But then there are times when all of this, as God was saying that day, you've done all you can do. You're trying to push this thing again. You keep saying, you say it to everybody else, good things take time. Give this the time it takes. It's already late. It's no big deal. Ain't nobody sweating. You ain't failed. Go sit down. And what Go Sit Down turned into was, you still have this 40th birthday party to go to celebrate the life of your great friend, somebody that you're going to do some great things with. You still got to get to this, you know that the real turn up, you know, no short out to Joyce, and I know she would appreciate this. The real turn up you're going to get to is on that Sunday morning service where these mighty women of God are doing their thing. One in particular, Pastor D, as I'm starting to call her in my head. I don't know why I got to abbreviate everybody's names. I'm trying to be too cool. But she did this amazing sermon, and it's also part of this Monday Ministry series. You see it here in the Rainbow Room Lounge, but it's the kickoff, honestly. The service, but the sermon as well, was just the kickoff to God just, I had been spiritually empty in some different areas, and I'm just now noticing, now that I'm full, that I was empty. She started off serving up the bread of life with this amazing sermon, and everybody was kind of on the same theme, that about significance, about the things that you do have, the things that you just look over like, oh, this can't help my situation, this can't change anything, this won't make a difference, this ain't important, doing this video ain't nobody gonna really watch it, whatever we think is so insignificant is the thing right there that God has for us to use to go forward. See, I done skipped from her sermon past the little photo shoot that I did on beach, which was a quick one because it was cold, and I hope you all appreciate the Smooth Criminal little profile video, because I did open my shirt for about 5.5 seconds, got that shot, and then pushed on back to another awesome home church, Resurrection Missionary Baptist Church on the south side. My spiritual mother there, Pastor Polion Hines, and it was awesome that I got a reminder from one of the sisters that the anniversary was yesterday, and I was like, oh, I can go to my church and still make it to their church, because they, like, I believe that, for some of our lives, I'm not criticizing nobody, but for some of our lives, all them Sunday evening anniversaries, somebody gonna report this video. But man, look, if it is not a worship service, this is my guideline. If I am not going to the house of God to worship God, if it is about, we can venerate each other and we can celebrate each other and everything, but if the main focus is not to come up in there and be served up the bread of life while I serve up praise, I ain't coming in the evening. That's just it. And so I know that, that's how it is over there. And she taught us, she's the one I have to give all this credit to, that when you come to church, it's not about, begrudgingly and everything. And even not necessarily with your hand out, so to speak, but you do come expecting. It's I want to say she used the analogy that, if God is our Father and we're coming to his house, you come into his house knowing that he has a table set and that you're going to eat. Okay, it's anything but that prodigal son who comes back with this whole long drawn out speech and, all this, I don't know, self-loathing or whatever. God, Jesus did all that on the cross. We're done with that. No more condemnation. But you come in expecting to eat. So I was like, and that was the other funny part too, because I was like, you know what? Cash is a little low, and I don't really feel like spending nothing. And no offense to nobody, but we have some busy lives, like I told you over here at 2306. So, some days you better figure something out. We all grown, so we fine. You see, we looking good. My face is round. I'm eating. So I was like, oh, I can go over here and get a word. And it's anniversary Sunday. There's gonna be chicken. But it was perfect. I hadn't gotten to see everybody there, so it was awesome. It was awesome to just, like Cheer said, sometimes you want to go where everybody just knows your name. You just want to go home. And I had that awesome experience at High Mountain a while back. Even coming back to Lighthouse all these years later after, everything has long been established. But walking up in there, and then it was awesome that, I had my whole little color scheme already kind of picked out, and I was just rocking the blue and the white and the gray, and I come up in there forgetting that the church's colors are blue and white, and on anniversary Sunday, they more than likely wore blue and white, so I come up in there like, what? I'm photo ready, so it was awesome. But the service there was amazing. I will find her name and maybe put it in here somewhere, or Pastor Polion Hines, when you see this. If you could put the pastor's name in, I know it was, I'm not going to mess up her name. We just won't do that. But she came right behind, Pastor Don from the Lighthouse and was like, oh, baby, it's like how some of us know, those of us that's a little northern folks go down south and you stay down there with your people, and they look at you and they be like, baby, are you eating? And and you can't push the food away. You can't, it just you gonna eat. And so she must have just saw something maybe in the sanctuary. Not saying that the church isn't doing that great, because it was awesome to come up there just even to see the renovations that have happened in such a short period of time. It lets me just know that God is still doing amazing things. And but it was just like, oh, I got something to serve y'all up. And so she comes in behind that, on the same kind of topic once again, about, coming up to, and I want to say Pastor Don did hit this too, you're following God, you're going the way that he said to go, and things don't look right. And then before you know anything, start questioning everything. And it don't even necessarily have to be, here's the graduate level of this. It don't have to be that you've been questioning God in that moment. You are like, did I hear him right? Is this about that thing I did 15 years ago and I'm finally getting the karma back? Where did I go wrong somewhere in there? And so she really stamped it this past that evening with the idea that the children of Israel, and they coming out of the desert, out of Egypt, and they hit that Red Sea, and they following this pillar cloud the whole way. There was no room for error, because there wasn't even no messages for real to get. It was like, that cloud is God. Oh, at night it turns to fire so we can see it better. And when it moves, we move. Like in the club, like the song, when I move, you move. Just like that. And so, they get to the Red Sea and they see, oh, all hell and damnation coming from behind. What? And then, of course, they go into the name of Moses, a whole nother scenario. That's something for the leaders, especially. But, but just to get that, things don't look right with the limited eyes. That does not mean that you got off track. I decided, that I had to last 4-5 years. Whole long, I had at least every time where there was deliverance. Deliverance, healing. God turning back the time even on my appearance and making me look like I'm 20 again in some people's eyes. And find that, it's like, oh, false start. This Red Sea. Didn't we just cross this? But at the same time, while we tripping, let's try to look at it from this heavenly perspective. Think on higher things. Let's look at it from a higher place. What does that look like to God? I just delivered you across the sea. You see another sea, and you start tripping all over again. That is what he has been trying to tell me about these books. I've said it before, and I'm going to put this out there now for accountability purposes. The reason that it takes me so long to get these books out for real, it does not take all this time to write them. Honestly, I do get too preoccupied with the finances, and y'all can help me with that by these books. You're going to hear that a couple times. But somewhere in the midst of all of that, and I tell other writers, see, this is why I'm going to be a great publisher, because I'm going to have to step outside of myself and only wear the one hat. But on the writer side and the publisher side at the same side, somewhere in the midst of that process, you're writing, and you might even say, oh, this is fire. This is good. But how are we going to pay for it? Will the people buy it? They didn't buy the last one. You know, all of that comes up. And God has to take me through this whole process again to get my eyes not focused on the financial or the business aspect of it, and real truth be told, fortune in the fortune cookie. It ain't even about getting back to the focus on the writing. It's to come back and put him back at the center. Why are we doing this? What are we writing? What is the purpose of all this? And you come back, you have to pull up on God real close, and he kind of puts you on his lap, and he points down back at the situation, at least my experience, metaphorically, and you got off track when you started thinking about what you could do, what your purpose was. Where's my purpose in all of that? And so I come back to having bios and having photos and things that I have to look at in high traffic areas, as I call them. And that's why this is a problem. I got off track. I'm not on the right purpose. And so, like, perfect example, come back to this weekend real quick. So there I am, frustrated, trying to get it to work, trying to think about when I can start selling the books so we can change some other things, so we could change some other things. Look at that. Who's God now? Anyway, just check that. But you come back to that. My purpose is to illustrate God's love with my life. It's amazing to say to you all, third thing that was intangible is now here tangible, because of the Spirit of God moving through my hands, or putting the stories in my head, or giving me the boldness to even put them out. It's a whole nother level when I have to tell you that there are times when I cannot write enough words, I cannot make enough videos, I cannot go to enough church services, I cannot sing enough songs, I cannot pray enough prayers. If it is not time, if it is not God's way, if it is not God's purpose, it will not happen. And that is what I have seen with this book in particular. And that's another reason that I know it's going to be so good, because my focus just had to be brought back every stage of the project. I saw every stage of the project. That's why I had my little temper tantrum, because I could tell people, there is something to talking about these books and our art and those things that we produce as our babies, because we labor, we carry this thing, and we have to be careful too of what we take in while this thing is gestating. But when it's good, want it out, and you want the world to see it and love it and hold it and embrace it in the same way that you have in your head for so long, and you get to the last step and you're like, yeah, you got it, and it slips back again. You're like, okay, God, I got it. All right, it wasn't time, but you reach out again, and it's like trying to catch the wind. And somewhere in there, God is just like, nobody told you to chase anything. You're not a dog. Sit down. You're at my goal. I prepared this. I'm going to serve it up. And that's what happened this weekend. So basically, book update is that I got the last little pieces of the puzzle together. I got some things in place to have a proof of the book printed and sent to me Little OCD, don't mind me, it's raining and whatnot. But, and when I hold that bad boy and do a video like this, because there will be a birth announcement, because when I tell you I labor, this thing kicks on the inside of me. Not taking anything from women, and I'm not trying to adopt none of that. I'm not trying to see that. Very excited and happy that I have my XY chromosome. I'm good. But metaphorically, spiritually, man, look, some of the stuff that we look at in the world is a pale comparison to what's happening to us on the inside, and that's all I'm going to say before I get in any trouble. But so look what happened in about maybe 4 days. Very excited, if you can't tell. Next thing here, we got, interviews. So you saw an ad. Oh my God, this ad. So let me talk about this ad really, really quick. Go to my Instagram real quick. Go to my Facebook page. You're going to probably have to scroll down a couple things to my Facebook page. But if you go to the Instagram page, you get right there to this beautiful promo ad made by Mikey Errol, who is doing an interview with me today, which is why I got to be mindful of the time and get my life together. I still need to get some confidence together, let's put it that way. And, so in this interview, it's with the Mikey Everything Show. It's with the Loaded Eardrum Station. It's going to be broadcast live on Facebook. I'm Mikey Errol on Facebook. Mikey, M-I-K-E-Y. Errol, E-R-R-O-L. And like I said, these are the ads, you see everything you need to know. And I know for a fact that I've seen the broadcast on SoundCloud as well. I think that might be after the fact. And then, of course, I'm going to get a hold of it and put it up somewhere as well to make sure that everybody can see it. It is at 6 p.m. And I do know that some of my people, like I am of a certain age, and so you should not be trying to listen to that on your commute, unfortunately. But we'll make sure that you get. And so, but yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be my first time with this platform. Very excited to work with this gentleman and with this co-host. I did have the pleasure of watching, Jesus. Look, now I found a whole nother word. But I had the pleasure of watching one of the videos where they interviewed a good friend of mine, Darren Calhoun. You noticed him in the video I did where I was featuring the book cover, and I was so happy with that book cover. That's just amazing. It's like, I'm gonna call a thing a thing. It reminds me of chocolate, because the book is gonna be sweet, but it's all this brown and everything, and I got a hot brown model on the front. That's my brother. He's amazing. More about him later. But Darren Calhoun, he did the interview with the same platform, and it was an amazing job. I do see though where I'm gonna have to be on my toes, so it's just like, in a world of Joe Biden F-bombs and Kanye West choices, that's just all I have to say about that right now. That's a whole nother situation. In the words of Michael Che, pass. I gotta get ready for that, and obviously I can't even Showtime Synergy, ain't no earrings in, so that shows how much I got to do. And we're gonna move from that to, so then, I've been waiting for this for a minute. I had so much fun the first time, for real. I'm gonna put it up again maybe on Throwback Thursday or something, but interview again with the boys of the SIP. And that whole situation of sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. That's the best I can give you on this Monday, because we did a lot of shout-out yesterday. But yes, so it's awesome to be sitting down with folks that I know personally. David Dodd, man, this is a classy brother, and he has been a part of some amazing organizations, and he is a part of some amazing organizations. And I'm not even just talking about like the entertainment side of the LGBT community here in Illinois and Chicago, but the things that are parts of vital services, awareness, advocacy efforts. Get to know this brother. You'll see him on the SIP. You can look up the SIP now. You can also look for David Dodd on Facebook. David, like King David. Look at that. Boom. And last name Dodd. D-O-D-D. D-O, two D's. D-O-double-D. Then you have Lennox, associate producer of the show, and he also writes for different media platforms, and he did an amazing review of my work. It was amazing that, after some time of us trying to we just kind of were circling each other, and it just wasn't time for us to touch down yet and to interact yet. So when we finally did, it was amazing. Turned into a review of Love Changes 2.0, and then also that opportunity to come onto the show, do a reading, and just discuss what we're trying to do here at Rainbow Room.